Fighting Temeraire. The full title is The Fighting Temeraire Tugged to Her Last Berth to be Broken Up. This was the painting that Turner liked especially. He called it My Darling, and this is the painting that wins all those opinion polls. So those who do not choose Constable's Hey Wayne choose Turner's Temeraire. This is one of the greatest paintings of British art. Simple. So if you look at the painting, it shows the husk of an old sailing ship, the warship that was powered by the old technology, the sail, being dragged, as the title suggests, to be broken up, to be destroyed by a modern steam-powered boat. The view is rather sad. There is a sunset, quite red and mournful. There are some other elements like kind of black buoy in the water, and also if you look at the two ships, the old Temeraire, which wasn't just any ship but one of the most important British naval warships that took part in the Battle of Trafalgar, so this great victorious battle against Napoleon. And the new modern steamship, you can see a very stark contrast between the old world, which was beautiful and elegant, but of course less effective, and the new world, which is sooty and dark and quite ugly. This boat seems to be kind of squatting, especially near the beautifully elegant ghost of the old sail ship. So much has been made about Turner's attitude towards his subject. We know that he was a patriot, so of course he was probably quite happy that England was victorious against France. And we know that he was quite fascinated with modernity, but the way he shows the old world, that he shows the old technologies that are meant for destruction, that are meant to be demolished and replaced by new technologies like the steam replacing the sail, is very poignant, and this is something that has been observed already by the Victorians, and this was the painting that was really well received. It's not very experimental in form, you can actually see what's going on quite well, and this painting was even something that Turner himself liked about his art. The second one, called The Slave Ship, there is a much longer title to it. If I remember correctly, it's like the slaver throwing overboard the dead and dying, typhoon coming on. So it's like the whole description of the scene. And this was the favorite painting of John Ruskin. However, he perceived it as terrifying, because if you just look what this scene shows, it is a terrifying episode, actually inspired by a true story. This episode happened in the last years of the 18th century, when Britain was still supporting the slave trade in the colonies. So the ships that were carrying slaves from Africa to the New Indies mostly, they just took part in the slave trade, and they insured the cargo, namely the slaves, against being lost at sea. but the clause of the insurance that this particular ship had said that if the slaves were not lost at sea during a storm, but they died of illness, the captain would not get compensation. He would not get the insurance money. So when a storm came, and of course the conditions on board of a slave ship were terrible, and many of the slaves were ill already. The captain decided to throw overboard anyone who he believed might die because of the conditions on the ship and because of the storm. So they would be lost at sea rather than died on board. So what we have in this painting is a very dramatic scene with a lot of red color. So we have this typhoon coming on, so this kind of red sunset and the red light, the red sea. It has been connected with this kind of even divine wrath against the cruelty of slavery. And of course Turner himself was shocked and terrified, and by 1840, when this painting was finished, the British Parliament passed a law making it illegal for any slave trade in the whole of the British Empire. So this scene is presenting a problem that at least partially has already been solved. But if you look, especially at the right hand side corner here, there is very turbulent water with some fish and sea monsters, and if you look close you can see legs and hands and chains of the people, probably the Africans, who were thrown overboard. So this was a deeply moral work, very clearly protesting against slavery, protesting against treating human life as merchandise, and basically treating other people as cargo. So it seems to inspire even kind of the wrath of nature or the wrath of God against such behavior. And perhaps the last picture I would like to focus on is a painting from 1844 called Rain, Steam and Speed. And it's again a contrast between the modern and the traditional. Just like Temera, you have the new technology contrasted with the old technology. However, in this case, Turner is much more experimental with his technique, with his form, and the result is what you might call more impressionistic. You have to, well, figure out what's going on. But if you look closer, you can see there is a river. Of course, it's the River Thames. And there are two bridges, one old bridge made of stone, and the other one the newly made railway bridge. And there is a train approaching as if out of the painting itself in the direction of the viewer at great speed through the clouds of steam from the steam engine and in the rain, which further blurs the vision. So what we see is a kind of black, sooty smudge, which only after a while starts to materialize into a train passing a bridge. If you look closer, if you look at the hazy background, the landscape in the background, you can find elements of traditional life. There is a farmer plowing a field on the right hand side. There is a boat crossing the river, and there is a circle of people, possibly women, dancing, perhaps performing some traditional dance or some, I don't know, ritual. that would point to the old world that's being destroyed by the advent of new technologies, in this case the steam engine and the trains that will accelerate the pace of life, that will make all those peaceful and beautiful and calm landscapes, they will change them forever and modernize them. Of course, the train itself is quite terrifying. If you look very, very close, you can find a rabbit or a hare trying to escape before the train passes. So there is a little animal on the tracks, and we can only guess whether it will be able to escape the train. But anyway, just like in case of the Temeraire, the new technology is dark, black, sooty, ugly, and yet strangely fascinating and strangely powerful, and definitely kind of awe-inspiring. So we have the romantic idea of the sublime and of the awe-inspiring taken to signify modernity, which is a very interesting thing, and we'll definitely return to this subject when we talk about the Industrial Revolution and the response of British art to the Industrial Revolution. I'll give you some links to the documentaries, so if you want to, you can watch them, and I don't know, perhaps we'll see each other after Easter or not. We'll stay in touch anyway via the Usos mail, and yeah, I would like to thank my husband for keeping the camera, and wish you all good Easter.